Okay. I'm trying to set up the stream. Remember to turn the monitoring off. I could hear my voice. Evening, Junikus. Evening, Turk. If you're still here. How are you doing? Okay. Sorry. I've been organizing windows on the other screen. I hear you. But it's funny, this weekend I kind of signed up to do a little bit more karate stuff. So my schedule may change a little bit. Kind of trying to get a little bit more involved with that. So quite the opposite of relaxing. Oh. My day was quite the opposite of that as well. I didn't do very much today. We're kind of on the verge of a release, and kind of not got a great deal on my plate right this second. So, yes. But the busy days normally go by quickly. So there's some pros and cons there. Trying to organize panels in the stream to be more efficient. Ah, well, can't argue with the rewarding, right? So that's a good sign. Nice. 18 stores. That's progress. I don't want to open pass yet. Oh, well, congratulations. Okay. Gotta get my brain back into this. What I've been trying to do is actually make more notes and plan out what I really want to talk about on a stream ahead of time. So I've been trying to start to get that pattern down. Getting ready for the last phase. Some 5 more stores and all stores are integrated. Wow. So what does it entail getting them up and running to be integrated? Like from your perspective, you know, what does it involve? I would imagine you're doing a lot of running around and I get stores that are already running an Uber Eats, so look at it. Ah. Gotcha. Huh. The POS fee. Gotcha. So you got to get them able to line up to so it can take orders. I said, okay. Gotcha. Now, is each store's POS is slightly different, or you got variety, or so it doesn't. It's not like one mapping's done and then hey, it's all done. You got to get each store up and running. Right. Huh. Okay. That doesn't sound like fun work. But like you said, reward it. I suppose once it's working, the reward is there. Four concepts. All stores in a concept are the same, so not as much duplicated work. Okay. Because the menus. Okay. Testing. Don't you just do that? I thought you just turned it on and hoped and prayed. Oh, wow. I'll give this a second. Nice. Welcome, readers. One Kev Griff, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome. I was just looking in your stream a few minutes before I started. How was the stream? I saw Michael Perry in there. I thought I'd suggest to get. Well, thank you very much. Join me in a quiet moment as I start. How is everyone? Thank you for the follow, Jonathan Delfrace. Welcome. I'm in a. We were just kind of chatting to begin the stream. So I'll kind of briefly introduce what we're kind of doing here on Tuesday's streams. So on Tuesdays, we've been working on a project we started a while ago that I need to open this for. Close that down. Don't save that. Open recent. So we've started this thing called Pizza as a Service, and it's really just a toy project, really, with the idea that we can explore some of the concepts around using distributed systems and microservices and all the nice buzzwords that go with this thing, with the aim of learning a little bit along the way, analyzing the sorts of challenges that come up, and understanding some of the differences in how we might normally develop software from your traditional, monolithic piece. And we're not trying to do any DDD or anything clever like that, but naturally by identifying the independent pieces, we're going to kind of pull apart a little bit of the domain. So what we've been working on is introducing mass transit with RabbitMQ and Kafka, and talking about how we might use them differently and in the initial phases. And we're kind of making it a shared project. So the project is available in the GitHub, in the team GitHub. the stream GitHub, not the team GitHub. Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. So this evening we're going to start a little slowly with a bit of a code review of a pull request and go into that, and then move to, if my mouse will actually move to my other monitor, move to introducing some more features. I'll go over the feature list. For those who haven't joined before, normally a Tuesday is this. We've been talking about this for a few weeks now. Pizza service. Thursdays is mobile stuff. I've worked on another project for a while regarding my games collection. So Thursdays is mobile, and then on Saturdays I've been working on this developers.stream project that the Streamlabs bot just linked in there, and that project is aimed at helping promote other developers who stream. Right now it's a GitHub Pages page, but on Saturdays we've been working on building out the functionality there to help build a more structured site to help promote. I want to find a .NET developer. I want to find someone doing Rust. I want to find someone doing Go or whatever. Trying to help promote those streamers up there and allow people to find you by the technologies and things you use. So that's the other project we do on this stream. So yeah. So if there's any questions, any thoughts or opinions as I go along, you're more than welcome to share. I'm learning, I'm growing all the time. I might have been doing this for a while, but it doesn't mean I'm perfect. And I like to learn new ways of doing things or learn new things in general. So yeah. So what I was reviewing was last week we were building out the menu system. So in this diagram, the way this works is the menu is kind of a collection. So a menu is a collection of categories that has an availability. So it might have a timed availability, it might have a day availability, it might, ultimately it could be broken down. And then a category has items, so the items have values and descriptions, right? So a menu might be all day. A category might be burgers, pizzas, or whatever, and the items underneath there will be the actual items. So where we've used this is when a menu is created, we publish the menu using Kafka. So we publish to the menus topic because there's no specific message that's necessary from the rest of the system that says, I need to know when a menu is created. It just says, create menu is not a command that we send to anything because the menu system itself cares about that. And it publishes out the menu in its current state when the managers of this component, the owners of this component, whichever way you want to put it, say, okay, the menu is now good to be shared, and whoever cares about the menu can pick up on the menu. I'm not too worried about the reality of a lot of what's happening, as long as we're close enough, because it gets the ideas across and allows people to kind of consider what they would do differently or how they would achieve things. The website is the customer interactions component of the system. The customer can log in. The customer can add to the menu and purchase things through there is ultimately the goal here. Thank you for the follow, El Jofla. And so, this is a Draw.io plugin inside of VS Code. It's actually Draw.io. It's unofficial, but it does embed. It's Draw.io integration, but it allows me to embed the Draw.io file inside of VS Code, and then we can use it without jumping back and forth between applications from time to time. because I also use this for looking at Mongo and Docker. And thank you for the helping me hit the 600 followers goal. It's milestone, I suppose, not goal. I don't kind of set the goals. Roller Rolls, thank you very much for the follow as well. Appreciate it. So basically what happens is the website, you can come to the website and log in, and then we use Mass Transit here to register the customer. So when the customer comes and says, I want to register my account, it sends a register account command. The reason being that the actual customer system is managed outside of this, because obviously there's other pieces that need to be involved with understanding who is a customer of the system, right? Whether they build or marketing, etc. might care. So customers is I use Visual Studio Solar. I don't think it's in Visual Studio, but I haven't looked too hard there. Ultimately it's a browser, so they might have actually made it there. So when an account is registered, we publish out that an account is registered, and other pieces pick it up. So we're using this really as an excuse just to create things and kind of test the waters and learn a little bit more as we go. I haven't distributed a system in this way for a long time, and I haven't worked with Kafka in production to any great extent yet, and I haven't worked with Mass Transit and RabbitMQ at all. The last time I did Service Bus was with NService Bus and MSMQ. So we publish the event that the customer's registered, and now in the website we can pick that up and we can actually register the actual account for the website to use for login, because a customer doesn't log in to the back end over here. They don't log into this piece, right? Information about them is necessary, but they are only a customer in this world. So holding their customer accounts in here doesn't seem like a bad idea. So when the account register comes back, we can create a login for the user there. We can send them emails out of this. And this is a system unto itself, right? These don't represent components of one service. These could be many services running underneath. So if I open the project, Pizza as a Service. And again, if you have any opinions on what you're seeing, if you have any thoughts, feel free. Elshfuser, welcome. Thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. So now we have, you may hear jet engines start up as my computer gets warmer and warmer and warmer. So we have this Docker Compose file in the project, and the idea of this is we can use Docker to create all the dependencies of the system. So in this Docker Compose file right now, we create a SQL server, we create a Mongo server, a RabbitMQ server, and we have the Zookeeper and Broker for Kafka, and this Kafka manager as well. The Kafka manager really isn't necessary. It's just an ability to see the state of the Kafka piece from an overview. So if we go in here, not run it from out here actually. Dev projects stream pass Pizza as a Service, and we do that. Docker compose -f. And because it's not called Docker Compose, we have to specify the file name. Thank you for the follow, One Cave Griff. And let's bring that up. And what this will do is it'll just start all the relevant pieces to support the actual site running. So in this large solution, right, we have these areas represented. Okay, so we have the shared components of the system, which are the Mongo repository and Kafka pieces that are shared. We then have the menu component, so over here. And this is what I'm saying. We're not aiming for DDD, but, some of these things are going to start very closely aligning. We have the marketing system. What we did was started by just creating a loyalty service just to show that the message was getting somewhere else. So this is using, Mass Transit and RabbitMQ. And then the customer interactions component has actually several components now. The website is the actual visible thing, but then we have these consumers running in the background that consume the menu and store the menu. And the general concept here is that, you don't create like one central menu database, right? There's no one way of storing the menu. This system publishes out the menu information that it's willing to share with the rest of the world. Each system might consume something different about that menu. Some systems might not even bother consuming the menu. They might not need it. Some might consume enough to know that a menu has been published and they just care about certain pieces of information. From the website perspective, the website needs to display the menu and the prices on the menu, right? And we can get into whether it's, more involved, who owns pricing, etc. But that's for a much later date. But the menu system is over here, and the consumer here is consuming that menu in the background and storing the information it needs about the menu for display in the website. So the menu is stored here and the menu is stored here, but there's only one source of truth is the idea, right? So we don't end up with, I'm going to edit the menu. Well, this site would never edit the menu. The menu is published out of here. It's not out of here and consumed by this. The menu's stored on this. It's not its job to actually touch the menu. So this would be read only in this case, just by practice, not by reality. I mean, in reality, you could edit the menu. You could say, okay, we need to tell them that this item isn't available. So, the orders system or the inventory system might say, whoa, we don't have that item, and it will disable that menu item. That's not for the menu system to decide, right? The menu system is responsible for creating and publishing the menu. The inventory system might say, no, you can't actually use that item right now. But again, it's all a matter of design and discussion at that point. So what we can do is we can start this up, and the idea is that you should be able to check the project out and run this just the same way without any effort. So there's no requirements on your local machine other than Docker. So this will start up several pieces at once. I have a Ryzen 2700X and 32 gig of memory in here. So I'm not particularly panicked about that, but obviously the more services you want to run, the more difficult this becomes. Now, the benefit is, and we've kind of proven this before on another stream, you can create a solution, and we have done a solution for just this piece. So if you're just working within this component, you just need to verify that things are working within this ecosystem. You can run this component independently. You can run the customer interactions component independently is the idea. So that these services, that's, I suppose, the beauty of it. And I'm trying not to call them microservices, because each piece is a system unto itself, and each piece could have services and things running. So these aren't microservices, right? These individual pieces could be microservices. Yeah. It feels like it's a useful thing to do, because then you bring one up and that's why I did it as infra. And I think it was Mr. Anhorn's suggestion that we called it infra. So I assume he does something similar. So now it's running. We have the website, and then we can go over here and have the menu website. So the menu editor, the idea is that it will allow us to define the menus and output foods and stuff. And then over here, we can see the menus. We should be able to see the menus. No, we can't, because we haven't published it, right? We haven't done this part. This is a branch. But the idea would be that we can go in here and publish this menu, and then it would pick up, because it would be published through Kafka. I say published, produced. Producers and consumers are part of Kafka and part of Mass Transit. But it will be published from within here as a concept, and then the menu system will be picked up over here. When we can register a user. Ouch. Yeah. some things are going to be easy to upgrade, some things aren't. And when you have dependency upon multiple libraries, you've got to hope that things align. Well, if you're doing mass transit and RabbitMQ, or you're doing Kafka and whatever, you're hoping that they've updated their stuff to be compatible with .NET 5, or you're hoping on things. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So again, the idea is these are the websites, right? These are the actual services running. So this one is the loyalty system. This one is the customer system, right? And we can start this one up as well. Right? Is the idea? We're not publishing it right now, so it doesn't really matter. It's like I didn't start Kafka properly, so I know why that is. Because I didn't shut things down properly last time. This has happened before. Hey, Viable, how are you? I keep forgetting to do that. Not much right now. Not much. We're just back to Pizza as a Service. We're kind of discussing some of the ideas and concepts here. We're about to do a code review. And there's a few things I want to kind of point out that are worth keeping an eye out for. May or may not impact anything, but yeah. So yeah, we can at least do the customer service. So if we go in here, bring the website up, and we register Mr. Bob Jones, Bob Jones, B Jones at jonesmail.com. Doesn't really matter what. You can see that the customer service picked him up, and then the loyalty system picked him up. And basically what happens is around here, we also get a notification that Jones was registered. So we're proving the system's distributing fine. The Kafka piece is broken because Kafka seems to be pretty temperamental to an extent, right? So if I do docker compose -f docker compose.infra.yaml down, right, it will bring everything down and remove it all. If at the end of the stream I forget to do that and restart it, Kafka doesn't start in a very clean state. So it removes everything. So it cleans it up. So we've noticed this at work as well. If a Kafka instance crashes, like if Kafka a server fails or whatever and brings down Kafka with it, when it starts back up, it needs a restart. It actually needs an actual restart. So this way we're going to bring it up fresh and not have an issue. But we've noticed that at work as well. So that's something I've probably got to learn more about the configuration of Kafka and why and how to start it properly. So let's have a look at this pull request. So I want to shut everything down. Everything's shut down there. I actually do want to do that down again. Do you host volume out? No. So the idea of this is that it's completely, there's no need in keeping this, persisting this beyond. So every run is fresh, right? For right this second, that's perfectly fine. Because it allows us to verify that everything's functioning without worrying about, the storage or where's that being stored and configuring things. So anybody checking this project out should be able to build that up themselves. And if you want to create your own version of that info file, you can do, and you can persist all the data yourself. But the idea right now is just remove everything. Okay. So what I want to do is go over this pull request, and there's a few. There's nothing particularly. There's nothing wrong with the pull request. I just saw a few things in it that are worth reviewing that are useful to catch. So last time on stream, we made a few decisions, right? We said that we weren't going to have the logic, the business logic, in the view, which is the Razor files right now. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. So we moved. I was looking at it before. We moved the behavior to create an associate category with menu out. Right. So we said, okay, we're fine with that as a pattern. That is a perfectly fine pattern. Yes, it seems like it's doing, it's kind of doing too many things or whatever, but that makes sense to us. And then we're not putting that logic inside of the actual page, and we are being very descriptive about what we're actually doing. Create an associate item with category. So we have create an associate category with menu and then item with category, right? So we're following that pattern. We're being consistent. It's pretty much all the same stuff that we looked at. We can create the items. We can do the menu editor. We're adding these into the navigation. So now we've put the menu editor, navigate. Okay, yeah, so that's the navigation at the top of the menu editor. And then nothing really is different. There's a few things that I saw that I wanted to look at. Just to point out. Validation errors, these are okay. Just change the menu names. Add core add application. We talked about this, so you've brought out the actual configuration behavior of these out into their own things, so that we know how they're set up and we don't have to have this sat in there, etc. That's fine. Because that moves away from the website now and moves into the application layer. Okay. Styles. Category. So we remove, now we're back to just being a request. It's not mapped, it's fine. That's what we talked about. There's something I caught the other day, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget about it before doing the pull request, which is why I delayed. Category menu. I saw it in an instant the other day, and now I'm making sure I'm just covering over it. Create an associate category with the menu handler. So we create the category. So we send in a category, right? We're going to await that anyway. So, and then if there were menus attached on the request, then we then associate them with the list of menus, right? Doing it this way, we can actually, after the fact, call associate category with menus with an existing category and still reuse that functionality, but we have a global handler that we're okay with. And the same again for items. Here we're creating a category. Why not call that category? So category equals new category, insert category. Save changes, return category.id. And this is something we'll probably have to talk about, is making sure that we are consistent on always doing this. If we want to do this, then we should always do this, right? So when we ever create something, we're going to return its unique ID. And again, we probably, I did actually experiment through virtue of a chance development this last week on what happens if you insert using unique identifiers in SQL Server. And if you insert 500,000 records into SQL Server with unique identifiers, the indexes corrupt really quick, right? And things slow down pretty quick. To use UIDs as very frequently written identifiers is, yeah. So using incrementing IDs for primary keys it fragments far less. It didn't make a massive difference to the speed of everything overall in the time I was doing it. But I was inserting, basically I was using a table to track records that have been inserted somewhere else, right? So I'm using this table to keep track of what I've worked on. And there's 550,000 documents total or whatever it is. And I'm kind of inserting a record for every one and then checking, have I already done this one? You know, and then joining on it and excluding. So the join actually wasn't as slow, but the index got corrupted, needed to be rebuilt much sooner in the process. So, because the performance degraded. When it did degrade, it degraded really fast. When we're using the incrementing IDs, it doesn't degrade as quickly. But it does degrade. The seek time seems to be not off by a magnitude, but it is affected. So that being said, I would now, with hindsight, definitely use incrementing IDs internally, export that public ID externally, and pass around. I mean, internally, like we've said, if we're protecting that internal ID, yes, we should pass the ID around. But if we're passing the GUID around, that's okay for us. But seeking and searching on that, if we're doing that frequently by these things, then we might want to consider why we're doing that. Because again, we're internal to this system, right? We're not publishing those IDs externally. We're publishing the GUIDs externally. So every other system cares about our internal identifier, our external identifier, our public identifier. They don't care about how we store the data internally. And that's kind of the big benefit of this, right? We are distributing we're distributing the data we deem public, right? We're not doing anything else. So we're inserting the model menu. We don't need to return the ID, but here we probably should do the same thing. If we're being consistent, right? The create menu. I mean, we don't need to do it now, but it's a review, a later point we should review. Then we have the validator, and we're just adding that to validation, the exception, validation exception. And this is the pipeline, right? So we've got a validator behavior across the mediator pipeline. Yep. No, I mean it's pretty self-explanatory, right? That's why we moved this add application out to a method so that a developer coming along can come in and see this is what adding the application looks like. I kind of like that pattern. That's definitely something I will do in the future. And then we're adding that behavior in there. I hadn't done this before. Find validators in assembly, and then we can add those validators in. So I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. Actually, here might be where we introduced. Yeah. Okay. So this is minor. Yeah, we can probably talk about that in terms of figuring out how we log. But so this is really minor, but it's worth noting, right? So there's two things in here that changed, right? We set the lang version to 8, and we upped the target framework to 2.1 from 2, right? Those don't really hurt very much, and you know we know what we're using, but you know that introduction means that we use a technique in the code. Okay, but so the introduction of this means we introduce a technique in the code, right? Because we used a feature of that language that is not used anywhere else yet, right? So it's really subtle, and you might do something like that, and you know, especially ReSharper offers it as a quick shortcut, right? Oh, you want to update the language version? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you know, it's a minor thing because it's just lost in a property and a project property. But you can, as a team, and this is why I'm doing this. It's not that I have a criticism or anything of it. It's more, if you're doing this as part of a team project, right? If you're doing this as part of a work project and your team's working on stuff, that can creep by in a pull request really easily, right? But what you should do as well is make sure that you're reviewing why that got in there, because you might be using a pattern. You might be talking about sorry, I've got to verify something quickly. You might be talking about you've written some code that is not the way that other people would write in the team, and so that introduction there is probably a point of, okay, I want to do it this way. Does everybody agree with this way? Especially with C# 9 here now. I think we didn't make this as a .NET 5 project. I think it's a .NET 3.1 project yet. But all time. But that can be an indicator that you've introduced a feature, and it's worth discussing, because you don't want to just introduce a pattern or a practice into your teamwork. You know, like we said, the GUIDs being returned, or you know, even upgrading to 2.1. And if the project maintainer was actually on a slightly older version of Visual Studio or whatever, and this doesn't now work because of that, that could, I mean, something like that is not going to necessarily break this, but it's something like that could be an oversight, because it just feels natural to you to do it, and then you introduce that and it gets missed in a pull request and breaks the project because, you know, a tool's required or something you do is different than what they do or whatever. So yeah, just wanted to use that as a kind of reference for, you know, you might overlook this in a pull request. But it's an example of why you should pay attention to a pull request. And the biggest problem is, you know, for me, you know, people talk about code reviews, right? I didn't sit down and work with Junikus on this code, right? I was going to call you this developer, but right, if I'm in a team, I didn't sit down and work on this with this developer. This developer had a job and put the job in and did the work and got it. Yeah. But as another developer reviewing that piece of code, right, I may or may not I may or may not know everything that was done in this pull request. I might have a context of what was going on, but I might be reviewing it. And I don't know about you. I don't know about, other people in the chat that are part of teams, but who reviews your code? What is code review to you? Is it the pull request? If it's the pull request, what's an effective way of doing the pull request? I know there's lots of tools for doing this sort of stuff, but, that's a minor thing, but it could introduce quirks, right? And without context of the overall code running, how do I effectively test this? So do you rely upon integration tests running? Do you rely upon CI/CD stuff running to prove that this build is fine, right? That won't trip up a CI/CD necessarily, because the build tools we're using are up to date enough that it'll just be fine, right? If it was crossing over into the build tools weren't on that server or something, then that might fail, right? But what do you do? Yeah. I mean, you glance over them like, oh, that's fine. Yep, that's fine. And in this case, I did. I'm like, okay, I'm not panicked about this particular one, but it's subtle, and it can be missed. Yep. But I hate pull requests for code review. FYI, they're terrible, right? The only effective way of really doing a pull request is that should pull latest changes. Oh yeah, we changed things, didn't we? Undo changes, yes. Undo changes, just undo the changes. Right. Pull. So the only effective way for someone who hasn't been involved, and if you're in a team that's really close knit and you're talking about everything every day and you're doing stand-ups and you're doing all the proper things, then how would I do what? The code review? And I would genuinely be interested in other people's. Well, there's a few different ways. So encouraging more pairing can help, right? In an actual team, encouraging more pairing can help. Pairing doesn't always go down well because some people believe in it, some people don't, right? Especially on something that's kind of dull and not very involved. If you have a CI/CD pipeline, then how much confidence do you have in unit testing, in regular process to give you confidence that this isn't going to trip you up in any single way? So again, if there was a something like this, if that trips up CI/CD because there's a version incompatibility and the CI/CD setup has been configured to be pretty much the same, and that's a whole discipline, right? Then you might trust this, right? So you might not even think about something like this because it's fine. I'll just check it out; it'll be fine. Right? Yeah. But a code review using just the pull request and differences is not easy. So if you don't understand what was done and why it was done, right, then conversation is the only way you're going to figure it out, right? Because you don't know what you're actually approving. If it's simple code change, it's fine, right? But this has a whole lot of context to it, right? Just because this item is a model, right? Why do I need this? What story does this achieve, right? And that's why planning out your stories and talking about what is in a story is actually necessary. Not that one. So we obviously, I think this is the one we're kind of working on yet. So, no, which one is it? feature menu commands. Which item is this associated with? It's not. It's not associated with an item. Okay. Linked issues. So we've created this pull request, but we don't have an actual story to align it to in this case. I gotta say, I also did a bunch of changes in one single PR. Do you think it would benefit from breaking it down a bit more? Yeah, this was a little bit too big for one technical PR, right? But it's kind of productive, and that's the problem we face with Pet Home. That is the problem we'll face with this. We have to kind of this can't be totally realistic, right? Yeah, the idea and why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it now is because I think that as long as you get people thinking about something, then it's worthwhile. So it's a discussion point. So in this case, yeah, there's a little bit too much in this overall. We could have probably broken it down a little bit differently. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's solving a few issues, right? So technically, what this one solves is, what I was going to say then is, this is where building good, valuable stories comes up, right? You need to build stories that are relevant, that are pointed, that are, make sure that so I can't remember where I learned it, but basically, when we were talking about Scrum earlier on, it was like, don't add a story unless it adds value, right? Is the key. So a story that just changes some code, and this was always difficult because the technical things underneath add value, but you can't see the value until you do something else. So you can't add a story. No, what you really do is you add a story that adds the value, and that story is bigger because it needs the pieces that can't be seen, right? So technically, if we go to this pull request, right, this actually solves, right, create menu command, create category, create item, right? We'll deal with publish menu in a second. So it at least deals with those three, right? And technically that one as well, right? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't deal with that one. Create menu command doesn't deal with that one. Okay. So it at least knocks out create item, create category, and technically actually this I think we did. Needs to be done before number 2, and store in independent Mongo database. Where should we store it? When creating and managing the menus. So add features to UI. So it is this one, right? So if we go back to that pull request, it is also solving this one as well, number 5, right? So if we go to pass into here, so it is solving pass 5, pass 9, pass 10. What's the other one I'm missing then? I'm missing one then. No. So we don't have edit yet. We don't have all that, right? As a menu creator, yeah. Okay, so it's solving those 3. Oh, that's already closed. That's why it was there. Okay, remove that one. Yeah. So we're solving these 3 issues with this. So let's merge this. Let's close this down. Let's merge this pull request. Confirm the merge. So as far as review goes, there's no one good answer. Each development team is going to be different. Each is going to have the similar problems, different problems, etc. Associate menu with category with item. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So building stories that actually outline what is done, right? Making sure that everybody's on the same page as to why you're doing something is really critical. If you can't agree, the worst thing to do is, does that close them automatically? Okay, I can delete that branch. Does that close them? It does. Okay, so they're closed now, right? So we can go over here and, right, so we had these in here. Yeah, so they're now closed over there. Okay, because there's automation as done. I was saying I keep waffling and disconnecting. Oh, okay. So the worst thing to do with the story is when you get to the end, right? And let's say I'm the product manager and you're the developer, and I get the story. You've delivered it. Like, it's awesome. It's on the test system. You can go and have a look at it. And I go in and I'm like, okay, but where's the button to do this? And you go, what button? Like, the button to do this. We talked about it. Right, but we didn't put it in that story. But no, I assumed. And you say, well, I assumed it was in that other story. Oh. So where is it? Oh, we missed it. Okay. Now, if you have a product manager who's a bit of an ass, they're going to get upset with you. And it's no one's real fault. Just assumptions were made that were completely missed. It's unavoidable, right? So it's not the product manager's responsibility to make sure that every single requirement is, well, it's the product manager's responsibility to make sure that every single requirement is outlined. But those requirements are only as good as the questions the developers ask to make sure that they understand those requirements. If you sit there and don't understand a requirement as a developer, you're going to miss the requirements because you didn't understand it, right? So you're not going to put it in there, and you're not going to, and you know, there's a natural fear of holding people up. There's a natural fear of, I think they'll think I'm stupid, or, you know, I just don't get it. But I would rather have the same conversation 10 times, and, you know, not everyone gets everything, right? Not everything comes naturally to everybody. And you've got to be able to talk about, you know, things in honest ways. As a team, you succeed together, you fail together. So if a requirement's missed, the team fails. Not you failed, not the developer failed. The team failed to hit a requirement. So when doing stories, it's really important to make sure that we kind of don't go beyond the bounds because we think we're helping. So sometimes that seems very restrictive, and sometimes it's really easy to, well, let's do it as part of this story because it makes sense. And I'm not saying that it's a hard and fast rule. Sometimes there are useful cases where you say, oh, this button needs fixing, I'll fix it in this story. That's okay. Sometimes there's cases where, you know, you can be helpful to the overall process without, you know, ruining the process. So that way, doing that by building those stories out, making sure that everybody's on the same page, making sure that everyone's comfortable with what they've got to do before they start the story, you end up with fewer, never perfect, right? You end up with fewer, but I thought, right? So yeah, that is that. So we should be able to pull this down. Manage branches, main. So we should be able to main, pull. Okay, so we've now got our, I like this new Visual Studio version. This is nice. Okay. So I'm going to take a very quick break. Yeah, no worries. This is exactly why we're doing this, right? This is it proving itself useful. I'm going to take a very quick break. I just need to get a drink of water. I'll be right back. I'm going to run ads while I'm away because it helps keep ads away from people joining the stream. So I'm just going to... I don't have a BRB button. Hold on. I don't have a BRB screen. I have getting started, I have coding, I have privacy, and I have ending. We're going to improv just today. We're going to add new text source. I'm going to do this. New source. Just realized I don't have. Do Google Fonts. Be right back. Drag that there. Size it up a bit. And we're going to go with the hack version of a BRB screen. So if I do that, I should disappear. And if I do this, I should turn my mic off. So I'll be right back. I'm going to take a break and be right back. Okay. Let's hide our BRB. Thank you for anybody who is watching the ads. According to Twitch, that does disable pre-rolls for 20 or 30 minutes or so. Okay. Cool. And I just got a pull request from one Kev Griff for the developers.stream. Thank you for adding that if you're still around, Kev. Okay. Ishran Horn, good evening. How are you? How's things? So I should be able to do this. Close it all down. So we run the migrations, so it's not really going to fail at all here, but yeah, all should be good. We just pulled it and built before. There we go. You haven't streamed recently, right, Mr. Anhorn? I'm not missing your streams. Nice. Cool. Planning out stuff is good. Okay, so we discussed that. We did that. Okay, we did the merge request. Gotcha. Okay. I was it last Wednesday? Definitely last Friday. I did a karate class last Friday, and I'm getting home and I'm like, I see a notification. I normally see a notification. And then on Monday I was like, oh wow, that'll be fun. And on Monday I was like, nope, no notification. Hope everything's okay. So yeah. Okay. So let's do this. Let's work on this one, right? So we need to publish the menu again, right? So now we do have a menu storing, right? Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. I might stream. I'll stream on Thursday. I might up a few streams that I might go a little longer next week because I have a few days. I mean, next Tuesday I can't stream because, it's a birthday, so I can't stream on a birthday. That's not nice. But I probably am going to do a few streams next week. But then I might take a break for a couple of weeks. Try and get things sorted out and in better place. Not that I want to take a full month off, but yeah, it's that time of year. And Cyberpunk comes out on Thursday. Why do I keep streaming on days when things release and I really want to play things? Well, I suppose it helps me, right? It keeps me focused. Thank you. This is me. My birthday's in the middle of the year. But anyway, so let's pick up this issue. We'll do this publish, right? This should be a relatively simple one. So what I'm going to do is talking about streaming plans. My plans may change over the next coming months, over the next few months, because I'm trying to keep my physical health up a little bit. I'm doing well with karate overall, but I want to kind of do a little bit more. So I've started sparring. I did sparring for the first time in a long time on Friday, and it was quite a workout. No, I did sparring the other week, and I did sparring on Friday, and it was tough. Sparring is getting in pads and helmet and stuff like that, and actually fighting a little bit. But I kind of have upped my membership a little bit to do more. What that means for my time, I don't rightly know. I'm not going to be able to go to a class and then come and stream. That's for certain. So what I might end up doing is streaming more on weekends and things like that again. So we'll have to see. But I am going to start I'm going to start boxing the time I do stream to more reasonable times to try and have more. I think if I get a little bit more personal time, because once I start coding and streaming and talking, and then it's easy for 4 hours to disappear. Whereas if I can kind of time box things and plan out a little bit more, I might be able to get more meaningful content out without thinking, oh, I've lost my entire night and I don't have any spare nights. Yeah. Been fighting this memory leak for like a week, so I gave up and just made my apps more resilient to missing servers. Kubernetes keeps killing it when it goes over the limit. Ooh. What did I see about Kubernetes and Docker not being more is it more disconnected or it not? I didn't quite understand that. It was good to do. I find cutting off at 4 or 2 hours makes it more manageable, but also takes a bit of planning. Yeah, I'm thinking I want to plan. Like tonight, my plan is this, right? So it was to talk about the pull request, get the pull request done, do the kind of review of the simple issues that can come with pull requests, and then move to getting this story done. So I think we can get this done in the next hour, and then kind of go there, and then do more weekend streams. Maybe a couple of hours on a Saturday and a couple of hours on a Sunday, or vice versa. They're removing the network reliance from Docker using an internally managed. Is that so that you have the choice of containers, so it's more flexible? And I suppose that helps in terms of getting people's mindset away from Kubernetes is not Docker. Because I know that I always think Kubernetes, I think, oh, Docker. Right. So let's pick this one up. This is Pizza as a Service. This is a feature. And we'll assign it to me. So we go to the project. We should see that that is there. Publish menu. In progress. Okay, so we'll branch this one. So that's pass 8. New branch, feature 8. I do it that way so that it lines up with whatever number we've got there, so that's all. I don't mind if there's alternate ways of labeling. That's not a major problem. Yeah, I obviously having barely scratched the surface of Docker this year, Kubernetes is not something I'm going to get to anytime soon, right? So, yeah. One of the things I've been considering, since I don't know who was here last week, when I was talking about, how much time do you spend becoming an expert on these things? From 200 times performance. Ouch. It's insane. Ouch. But yeah, I've really been considering, how do I learn some of these things, right? How do people do this? How do you pick up these things and just, what do you consider good enough, or what do you consider your methods of learning to be effective at some of these things? So I'm kind of thinking about maybe asking some people if they join a stream and talk about a specific topic, and kind of teach me one-on-one with the stream, and not just how to do it, but how they learned how to do it, what methods they use to pick those things up. Because looking at the logging stuff the other week and looking at the what else am I thinking about there? Look, looking at all the different technologies that we've got to use, like Kafka and Mass Transit, and I'd say I can get up and running with them, but management, expertise, all those things, they scare me. They really do. And people look to you as being, oh, you know what you're doing. Do I? So I'm thinking of maybe trying to find some people that would be willing to come on and again, kind of focus the discussion around, okay, teach me what you know, be honest about what you don't, right? But also help me understand, how did you pick this up? Where did you go to learn this? Like, what challenges did you face in learning this, and how much do you think you've got to learn, and how did you fit this in with everything else, and seeing if we can kind of understand other people's perspectives. So that's a consideration for maybe the new year. Don't know who. I've got a few ideas of people I'd like to talk to, but I don't know if they'd be up for that. But I'm going to start reaching out to people in the new year, I think. Okay. Changed a lot of things to use sets from using. That is interesting. Glad you like the idea. Super nice increase in perf. Yeah, that's impressive. Okay, so we have a branch, and we have the menu. So what we're going to do is we're going to close this solution down for right now. Did I commit the other product? I think I committed the other solution, right? We're gonna do it the way that it can be done, just to prove that it can be done. So we have dev projects. I really should organize this differently into just so I'm very focused on just the brand, just the stuff for stream. And then sorry for the cough. That's why I got the water. If we go into menu, we have the past menu. So we're just in the menu. We're not focused on anything else in the project, in the solution or whatever. So when we have the application and we have the commands, right? When we create a menu, when we all these things are here. So we should be able to just run the website, right? Nothing should, they should function, and that's the idea, that we want to be independent of our teammates, right? We can't be reliant upon the customer interaction service. We can't be reliant upon other pieces. So we're going to menus, categories, items, what's broken. Oh, because nothing's running. That is pretty impressive, though. It doesn't totally fall on its face, right? Nothing's there, which is probably the best solution, the best scenario there, right? So let's bring up Docker. Oh, there we go. It finally did. It finally broke. It was timing out on the connection, right? So that was eventually timed out, but the user wouldn't have actually seen that yet. So let's run that again. And again, if anyone's, it says there's 15 people here. If there's anyone with any questions, if you want me to look at something specific, feel free. There's no wrong question. Other than, will I do something else? I'll use a different language. That's, yeah. As I do the first time it takes time, but yeah. Okay, so reload that. It should come up. I don't think there's a perf issue. Cannot open database menus requested by login because I haven't run the migrations. So this is the downside to bringing it up and down, up and down, up and down. I got to run the migrations every time, right? So if we go into menu, website, and then we do .NET EF database update, that should run our migrations. So ultimately, we want to kind of figure out what the path to the easy start really does look like. So let me just actually make a note there. Stream upcoming. So let's go back over here. Okay, we have the menus. Okay, so what we need to do is add a menu, and this will be called. I'm thinking how to do the migration. I'm thinking on services migration with Poly thrown in the mix. Hey, Deflux, how are you? Thank you for the bits. So let's just call this menu all day. CSS with Blazor, nice. How's that going? It's not running by the time the app tries to run the migration. It retries and bounce off after a few tries. Yeah, we'll have to so we'll play with those ideas. I've just made a note to talking about easy start. Add a menu with 2 letters. There you go. There you go. It does. Trying to work out the best thing to do things has been fun. Nice. How's that? Much luck with that, Deflux. So there we go. Your validation works. Yeah, that's doing good. Again, there's entire streams we can dedicate to styling, layout, UI design. Proper way to reflect things like that, right? So. What was interesting? The actual error or the way it behaved? Some look at it. Thought of doing a Twitch stream, but my webcam doesn't have an overlay. Neither does mine, see? It's there, front and center. I've probably got it set to break on exceptions. I've probably got it set to break on all exceptions of some form. You can configure in Visual Studio exception settings. You can configure what it will break on. Where do I do that? I thought it was in here. System null. Maybe not. Breaks whenever possible. That's the best kind of code. Okay. So we need to do. Let's see what we have available here. So when we have the menus. Actually, yeah, probably because it's custom. But there is a way of turning on break on all exceptions. You can check individual exceptions you want to break on versus just throw, etc. I might have it turned up, but I don't. I'm not entirely sure. There's somewhere else. Okay. So this is going to work out pretty well. Picking this one, right? There's two things that I'm immediately doing that we've missed already, right? Because I just took an item that has kind of been stubbed out and without talking about it, moved on to doing the story. So it kind of fits really neatly with what I was talking about in terms of planning and prep and making sure that the stories are outlined correctly, so you know what to expect. And also, now I've picked up the story, right? I'm thinking about all the things I need to do with that story. I didn't think about it before I started the story, right? I just branch it and work on it. So in reality, I would have spent time looking at the code, making sure I was aware of what it's doing, and making sure I have any solid questions based upon requirements. So the requirements state publish menu command. Runs validation verifying a menu is in a valid state. Changes the menu to a published state and sends it to Kafka. A valid menu should have a name, at least one category, and the category should have at least one item, right? So did I even validate that I understood what this was meant to do? No, I didn't read this part. I just thought, we'll just publish the menu. Previously, we've talked about it, and we've gone through those pieces, right? We've decided that is what publishing the menu entails. We need to validate that the menu is in a valid state, and then publish it, and also introduce publish state, right? And what does valid mean, right? So with that, awesome. The challenge, like I thought I can easily get it to publish in the 45-50 minutes of the stream that is remaining, right? Can I? Do I have a clue what validation looks like here? Right? So right, I can do this. But yeah, okay. So I can get the menus. I can go up. So we're inserting the application context in here right now. So we'll need to fix that, right? Again, being realistic over being really picky over a pull request, or moving forward and making the right changes as we go, right? So we can put queries in place for these things, right? That's fine. So what does valid mean? Well, valid is a category, right? So we can fix this part as part of this story, right? Because it needs to be changed a little bit, right? We've got the menus, but the menus right this second, the menu list is list of menu, which is our actual database model, right? No, it's that menu. Menu select. Oh, because we're creating a new menu in here, and then okay. So it's fine there, but we need to change this a little bit. So, so really what I'm saying here is the requirements we talked about, I didn't understand the implications of the requirements. I rushed in thinking you could do something relatively quickly, and in reality what that would have meant is I'd have pointed too high, or pointed too low, sorry. High, low, whichever one you want to, whichever direction that is. And I would have made, I can knock that out in half an hour, right? No, I can't. It's going to take me way longer to knock out. How much time? I don't know. But I should not have overestimated my abilities. Or simplified the understanding of the story. So this is going to be the get menus, right? Don't be running when you start creating stuff. And this is an iRequest. And this is going to return an IEnumerable of I think we need. Did these get named properly? Gamer.menu. Yeah, they do. Okay, so let's have a view models project. So I need a class library.NET standard, C#. We're in the menu folder because of where our solution is. This now works out pretty well for us because our solution is scoped to the folder we need it to be in. And this is going to be menu.viewModels. And now this is the downside to doing this the way I'm doing it, is because I've got this solution for this subset of the system, right? Now when I open up the main solution, that's not going to be there, and this isn't going to compile because it's going to have a dependency on that, so you're going to have to add it in. I wish there was a better way of just managing that. Okay. And menu view model, right? So now we have a naming convention question, right? So I just automatically tap view model on there because I've been spending time inside of Xamarin, right? Traditionally, I wouldn't have called that menu view model. That has been menu. But I'm actually thinking that needs to be called. Yeah, that does need to be called view model. I would have called it view model. Yes, I would call it view model. Absolutely. Because it would be... What have I been doing that I haven't done that recently? I do not know. Just ignore me for a second. So let's reference that, which will allow us to import that, and that will all work fine, right? So we have a menu view model, and the menu view model is going to have a GUID ID, because we don't, if we're doing it this way, we don't actually need to refer to it as anything but the ID. We could refer to it as UID, right? And that versus that is a matter of contention. What ReSharp wants to do to it, right? That wants to call it UID. That's another one as well. ReSharper will. Have you played with Cosmos much? I played with Cosmos last year, to the tune of costing myself almost $250 because I didn't understand the data structure of it. Apparently there's a free tier now, but I don't know what it involves. I was using Mongo locally and decided to try and use that aspect of it remotely, but I didn't ever got to that point because then I got gun shy of going anywhere near Mongo, going anywhere near Cosmos. It was relatively simple. From a interaction standpoint, I can say it was nice, but I got a bill for $250 and said to him, "But I've got like a 2K of data in it. I didn't know I had to shut it down." But then they introduced a free tier later. So, is it cost effective once you go beyond the free tier? I would bet not. Still, I bet it's still pretty expensive. Okay, so this is going to have the name, because the tools did not give me an accurate depiction of what I was going to use. I would like to try it again. I would really like, but the entire getting into Azure thing and getting more involved would be totally cheaper than Azure SQL. See, I have a SQL database running on Azure for the game library, and it's got not a great deal of data in there, but I don't think storage is the problem. So I run the game tracker app. So there's the app service, which hasn't been touched in a month or two now, but it's still running. And I have the SQL database backing that, so it's got all the listed games, etc. in there. And I have what else is running up there? Oh, the blob storage, right? Storing all the images. So there's like at least a gig of images, and it's about $25 a month right now. I think it's maybe $35. I think the app service running on the tier it's running on is the majority of that cost. So the SQL Server is costing about $5 a month, and it's got quite a few records in it at this point. So, but it's not gigs and gigs of data. It is being used. So it seems to be not that. I mean, if you need a large scale database, then you're talking probably way more expensive. But if you're building small apps or you're building something just to tinker with, SQL Server up in there is not. It's not really costing me a great deal. Okay, so the menu contains a name and a grid and a categories. All right. So let's make the menu view model do the same thing, right? Menu view model, public, IEnumerable, menu category view model, categories. Public class menu category view model, and the category has same thing with items. So we have public class menu item view model. I'm not going to nest. I'm not going to call this menu category item view model because it's a menu item view model. It belongs in a category. Public grid, ID, UID, string name, public IEnumerable of menu item view model items. Public period UID, public string name, and now I can't risk exposing the internal details. It's pretty obvious what's in here. So a category has items, and items has these fields. So I think we talked about this overall is we can now kind of, these models in here, we can discuss where they live, what they do. And again, this can all be part of the pull request. It doesn't have to be part of, I've been really trying to break into coding stuff since September last year, and I'm still staggered with the costs and how to go about reading documentation a bit. Do I intend to do code as a job until I retire? Some days I'm not sure. Some days I'm more of the mindset that I really, I mean, here's where I want to be. I want to develop my own software. I don't want to work for organizations. I want to have control over what I develop, when I develop it, and how I develop it, right? Now that just comes from years of being, we've got to do that, but that's a silly decision, right? It's always easy to look on something as a developer and think that's a silly decision. That I don't like that decision, therefore it's bad, right? Being your own boss would probably make that its own set of challenges, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to pay the rent, right? Or pay the mortgage, or raise a child, or whatever. So it's easy to say I want to do that, and not having done that, right? I love coding. But as I've raised, actually just before you joined, I was talking about the potential for, in the new year, trying to get some people on the stream to talk about specific technologies, but then kind of helping me understand how they learned about those technologies and how they fit into their day to day, and how much time they dedicate to picking those technologies up and being proficient in them, and how, because the more we do, the more this industry grows, or more, software gets complicated, the wider the knowledge has to be. And if anyone disagrees with anything I'm saying, please jump in, right? But we are in a realm where there are so many moving parts to be able to develop a system that does all sorts of cool things, right? People want more, people expect more. If I ask my daughter, how something happens on a web page, or how an application does a thing, she's like, oh, right? It just does a thing. It entertains me, right? And there's so many moving parts to delivering a system. Even a simple game on a phone has leaderboards, has paid ads, has DLC, etc. Those things are, they all take time and money, etc., to develop. And developing this system, right? We've got Kafka, we've got Mass Transit, we've got RabbitMQ, we've got SQL Server, we've got MongoDB. Who becomes the expert and where, right? So I'm going a long way of saying that it is getting scary to develop software, to the point where, I am kind of considering, what does my career path look like, right? Do I want to be a developer, right? Do I want to continue on this path, or do I want to move more towards management? Do I want to start chasing down lead roles where I'm not lead roles, management roles, where I'm kind of gathering those requirements and handing those down to developers with an understanding of that, and not necessarily being project management the whole way, but not being hands-on code at all, right? Would I enjoy that path? I've been doing IT admin stuff since I was a kid. I really think I need to break into coding side of things, but it seems that a kid can get further than me much quicker, so it's interesting to see where things go. I think C# is an area that seems to stand the test of time. C# doing well, right? 20 years in, C# 5 has, in my opinion, just refreshed the landscape for .NET devs in general. We now have more options available to us than ever before. We can truly develop cross-platform. We have a set of tools that are now kind of unifying, and I think that Microsoft is heading in the right direction with a lot of the things they've done. And it's just getting easier, right, from that perspective. But again, the knowledge base is deep, right? The older I get, I feel that, I mean, it's the same thing, right? I feel that younger people can pick this up much quicker, because it feels like they're just like, oh yeah, I did this and this and this and this and this. And that's kind of why I want to start asking people, okay, show me what you know, but also show me what you don't know, because I want to understand how much the average person understands and how much the person is like regurgitating lessons and stuff. Because I see a lot of things online, I see a lot of examples and demos, etc., but they don't help you leap over that demonstration. They don't help you get over that. They just take you to the edge of the demonstration, and then, okay, now go off and fly. But then a year later, you could be doing something and someone says, oh, that's the wrong way to do that. I don't know, right? So, and that scares me greatly, because especially with this system, this is deliberately designed to be challenging some of these things. But how much of an expert do I need to be on Kafka? How much of an expert do I need to be on C#? How much of an expert do I need to be in HTML, CSS, Blazor as well? We hit a bug in the developers.stream problem over the weekend with a background service triggering the reload on the page, so you can't use a background service. That was a showstopper for that, right? But I'm not a Blazor expert. How much time do I have to go spend learning to understand that behavior versus just finding a solution, right? So the older I get as a developer, the more I question, okay, which path do I want to take? Do I want to become an enabler? Do I want to basically do I want to enable teams to deliver the best they can deliver and work to defend them and work to give them what they need to learn and grow and kind of follow that path, which I think I could be effective at. I think I'm strong enough to be able to, fight the corner, and also give when necessary and make sure that teams aren't demoralized along the way. Or do I want to go back to full-time development and stop doing the management part and just be I am robot, I will do what I'm told, right? John Calloway, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome. So, I don't know what path. So, I mean, it's a really long way of going around that question, right? Do I intend to do code as a job until I retire? I don't know. I love what I do. I love producing things. I love enabling others to do more. But maybe that more for me looks like, okay, I think I'm a voice strong enough and experienced enough to be able to bring more to a development team. So can I enable development teams? I guess I'm kind of scared to take that leap because I don't know what I'm expected to know and not know. But we'll see. And I also don't want to be sat there going, whoa, you can do that now? Back when I was a kid. It's scary enough as it is now, but it's just going to get scarier if I step away. So pizza but serviceable. Can I repair the pizza? You can do whatever you want with the pizza. Hi, Abe, all the above. Welcome. So pizza as a service, for those who have joined, basically, we're talking about distributed system, and we are overanalyzing pizza. Yeah. So this is pizza as a service. The project is available. This in the GitHub, the team, the channel, the team GitHub. If anyone's interested. For me, it's weird. For me, it's strange as an immigrant, and I don't have a degree and a record, so I have to talk my way into the job. I don't have a degree, and I am an immigrant. All right, technically, yeah. I came from the UK. I don't have a degree. I assume we're talking about different, but it's. Yeah. I think if you want to share what you know, if you want to grow, if you just want to sit down and tell people do this, right? Those are not the engaging Twitch streams, right? I think if you want to get stuff done, don't stream, right? If you want to kind of code and talk about it and learn and grow, I think Twitch is excellent for that because there's so many cool people on here. There's such a variety of experience and knowledge. But when I was a kid, I had to do C++ going uphill in the snow without shoes. Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah, also talking about developers.stream, by the way. So for those who haven't looked at that before, thank you for the bits, Deflux. I appreciate that. Developers.stream is a website that I'm kind of working on. So there's Belly.io is a great site for finding programming streams on Twitch, right? It exists. I'm not trying to say I can replace that or whatever. I've got a feeling that is actually, it's this load. Right. So this will find you, and it is curated. They add people into here, right? And and it's awesome, right? It's a good list of streamers, right? So with developers.stream, I had the idea long before I knew about Belly.io, but props necessary. And basically, right now, this is a GitHub Pages page of developers who stream, right? But my goal is to, yeah, it's a dark mode plugin. Yeah, I'm not that bad at development. But the aim is to be able to show and highlight what languages people use, right? And I'll be honest, I've already found at least 2 streams from people adding in here. So, you know, vampires are like scares us. It does. It scares us very much. So yeah, the goal is we're building a site on Saturdays where basically the goal will be so you can say, okay, I want to find C# devs, I want to find Blazor, I want to find React, I want to find whatever, and you'll be able to filter the list and show who's online ultimately. But you'll also be able to register your details yourself, so you can add yourself in. We'll curate still, but then you'll be able to maintain that. So if you change the technologies or you change things about yourself, you can describe that. So developers.stream. Yeah. Good ad. That's interesting what you're saying. I was doing the VB. .NET was coming out. I was going to get my MSc, but decided to wait for .NET to flourish. In the meantime, I started my own business working with system instead of programming. When I came back into coding in 2010, man, I felt lost. And I don't know enough, especially when I see patterns like the ones being used here. I mean, no, so much more than me. It feels frustrating, but I'm always looking to learn more. So I've been a developer for 20 years, right? I'm 40 years old. I left school at 17. I left school at 19, having failed school, right? I just didn't do well in a school environment, and it didn't go well. So I got a lucky chance, and I found a job. But I've been doing this as a professional for 20 years. 15 of those years have been .NET. Yeah, 15 of those years have been .NET solidly. There's one thing that you'll notice about me when I'm streaming or when I'm talking about development. There's a lot of buzzwords, and I think I put it in the title today. No, I'll put it in the tweet about this stream, right? When I tweeted that I was going live, I wrote, all right, how do you see your tweets? I never know how to explore Twitter. It's relevant, I promise. Back to looking at services, distributed systems, and more buzzword bingo, all right? Yeah, I am in the US, by the way. For those who have not been in the stream before, I am in the US. I am not in the UK, despite my accent. Blazor is the only buzzword I need to hear. There's a whole lot of words and really clever technical descriptions around a lot of things, and ultimately I keep finding that people don't understand them as much as they think they do, or they don't they kind of use the term and they kind of have a different understanding of it. So what I try to do is avoid, like, even this, when I was talking about this earlier on, I was saying it's kind of DDD-ish because we're kind of identifying these things, but it's not domain-driven design. I'm not trying to make it fit a framework or a design of such. I'm kind of building these things to kind of talk about them independently. And, this project is, if you go back, and I have been putting these videos on YouTube, by the way. I think !YouTube works. Yeah, I have been putting the videos of the streams on YouTube to try and share Can Blazor help me earn channel points? If someone said we pizza as a service and it's 9. Yeah. So the goal of this project is not to achieve a major distributed system. Is I kind of talk about the individual pieces and discuss these things, and not, be bogged down in perfect design. Thank you, Deflex. Yeah. So, if you want to go and look at this and you want to talk about this, right? If you want to have a further discussion, right? The Discord's always there. I'm not quite sure. I missed something there, but anyway, you're more than welcome to talk about this in the Discord or ask further questions. If you want to look at the code, watch the YouTube videos, right? You're more than welcome. Deflux, thank you very much again for the bits. Appreciate that very much. So, okay, so this command. Let's just kind of get this working. And we'll see where we can get before the end of the stream today. So we have the menu editor. So the menu list is here, right? And we're going to go through the menus here. We get the menus in here in this menus. And right now we're accessing the database directly from the Blazor page. But what we're going to do is take that out, move that to a command or a query request. And we're using the mediator library to kind of CQRS up this a little bit. And someone's food massage machine. Nice. So we're gonna break everything down into these commands and queries to try and make the system more understandable, right? So this is going to be the get menus handler, right? And this is going to handle I request handler, sorry, get menus, and it's going to return an IEnumerable of menu view model, right? Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to bring in the database here, right? And then menus equals from M in context.menus. Join MC in context.menu categories. Thank you. Wow, that's a lot of bits. Thank you again. I think you've just given more bits in the last stream than I've had in a year. Buy a foot massage machine with these bits and feel the rave. I'm not sure I'd deal well with a foot massage machine. Be a tickle. On M dot. So we're going to do the ID equals MC dot menu ID into categories. No, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it a slightly different way. Well, 100 bits is $1. I think. I don't know. But it's no, it's so menu view model. So we're going to take the UID. We're going to get the UID out of there. We're going to take the name, m.name, name of the categories. I'm going to make a subquery. What do you think of navigation properties? Okay, I'm going to answer Juniker's question first. What do you think of navigation properties? The navigation properties, the lazy loaded properties, are a little harder to set up in EF core. So I don't use them as much right now. I kind of like navigation properties. It's just controlling the lazy loading so you don't get the select, the wrong behavior. So it's worth understanding, because now you have to actually go through the effort of adding in lazy loading and adding navigation properties in to be able to even set it up. Menu categories. Feel bitter about being fired. I'm sorry you're fired. Offered a few jobs. Ouch. That hurt. Yeah, I mean, training yourself, making sure you're, upping your skill set a little bit. I mean, I think that a lot of people are scared of, especially if they don't have the degree or whatever, they're scared of putting themselves forward for a job. Because a lot of job requirements, kind of seem really scary. But I think if you feel you have the relevant, enough of a background, enough of experience, fear of change is also, like I said earlier on, I'm really starting to look at what does my career path look like, right? And I've got into a company now where I'm comfortable, right? It's nice. So see in context.categories on MC. No. And that's kind of where the appeal comes from, in picking myself up as a, working on my own thing, doing my own thing. If I have more control, will I complain less about certain things? I don't know. And especially with COVID and this year being the way it is, I'm particularly more fearful of change right now. It's a little bit scarier than it has been in the past, and I'm also in a place where I'm comfortable. I know the place, I know the things, I know the people. But should that hold me back? What's the latest of the news over here? It is what it is. Menu item view model. I'm just completely destroying this. So if I use navigation properties to Juniker's point, this would look a little different, because I could say menus.categories. Instead of doing this from here, I could navigate the relevant properties, and this would read a little easier. But I also don't want to introduce lazy loading. I think that's a stream unto itself. Introduce the pieces necessary to do the navigational properties. and make sure they're there properly. It's not a default part as it was. There is a way of doing, so you can do includes, right, to do the joins, etc. But for right now, from a readability perspective, I kind of like the link statements. These can't be broken up though, because they all get compiled down into SQL. It's not like you can create a method that is get categories, and you can't create a method called get items, because it will not compose them properly. It can't deal with the function calls, which is a feature that I wish was in here in .NET, in that I could, break these down. It's still know enough to unwind them as iQuerables and break them out, but it can't do that. So this is i.uid. So again, we're not exposing the actual internal IDs. You can't do it for this. No. Description, i.description, and then and then price, i.price. It would be nice if you could, but I've tried a lot of different things there, never had any success. So with that, we can now return task.fromResult menus. He says with confidence, wondering why that work. Can I implicitly convert? Oh, because it's got to be as enumerable. that will enumerate it, send it back as a result set. So now we have the command where we go here is we go over to our menus and we get rid of this. We just replace that with iMediator. That's the mediator. And then this is a menu view model now, right? We're going to get rid of the concept of that menu being there. It actually won't break too much. I use lazy loading and love it if we're going to ever... relatively speaking, this is very early in this project, but I think it's worth looking at the differences it makes as a standalone thing than it is to do it in line with something else I'm doing, because it will make a difference. And I haven't added it into EF Core in a while. I've been doing this method for quite a while now. Well, navigational properties, which includes, yeah. No, this project is not mature at all. Yeah, so the idea of this project overall, for those who haven't been in the stream before, is we're going to build out a few pieces of this. But the idea is you can take this project yourself, and if you use C# or if you use other languages, other frameworks, as long as they know how to consume a RabbitMQ message and publish RabbitMQ events, so if they're necessary, as long as they or you can consume Kafka or whatever, you can build whatever else you want onto this, and you can take this project and make it your own if you want to, right? So there's no real end goal. RabbitMQ is a message broker system. The Mass Transit is a library that sits on top of that to represent messages and events in the system. So messages such as create account, or register account. So when a person comes into the customer interactions area of the service, right, they register an account, and the register account command goes to 1 point and 1 point only, or register customer, whatever we call it. And that goes to the customers component of the system, right? This is a completely separate service running, could be running on a completely different bots, doesn't matter. So RabbitMQ is the transport mechanism on which that message is sent. Mass Transit adds a layer on top to give context to that, right? So it underline sends a message as a packet, and then it comes down here. This picks up that message and then says, okay, let's do what I need to do to register this customer. Right, I'll save my customer in my database because I'm the owner of that data, and then it publishes an event that an account was registered. Right, so then this system listens to that event and says, "Oh, registered customer. Okay, I'll send them an email so they can create a login, and the login will only ever go to here." The marketing system also gets that customer registered and now knows about the customer. So it knows about their name and their email address. So it can start spamming them with crap, right? So yeah, RabbitMQ is a transport mechanism on layered with a .NET library, which is mass transit. And then that's using that for commands. Kafka is used as a publishing system. So in this instance, what we're aiming for here is to get Kafka to publish out the menu's ready, right? Because the menu is a thing. It's not a command. We don't need to tell any specific system, here's your menu, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right. We just need to say the menu is the menu that we've designed is now ready. So if you need to consume it, you can consume it, right? So if there's other things that need to happen, like the marketing department needs to get the menu and say, okay, we've got a new menu available. We need to do something, right? And the website needs to pick it up and use that menu for selling to customers, right? Then this system publishes that message out. So there's many components, and it looks scary, but it's not as scary as it might seem, right? Now this project's 5 weeks, 6 weeks old, maybe, I think. But there's not an awful lot to it. So, and again, the goal is not to make it perfect. The goal is not to make it the be all and end all of projects. Is to give these talking points to make sure that people can come in and say, oh, how do you do this? And why do you do that? And I can go, I have no idea, but let's talk about it and learn. So yeah. So what I've done is I've changed the type of this menu list to be the view model. And the menu list is passed down into here as a parameter. So if we have menu view model here, right, now that's that. So what we can do here is, instead of doing it that way, we can go into the imports, because we're always going to need view models, right? So let's add that in there. And now we don't need that there at all. And we don't need that there at all. And then let's get the menu list as, so now we do media, we can do this as async task, and we can await mediator.send new get menus. And this has no arguments. We could use this for passing filters in if we wanted to, but we don't need to do anything else like that. And then that should, why do you not do that? Async task. Oh, uninitialized async. There we go. That's healthier. And now you don't like that because you're not a list. So this is returning, but we don't need this to be a list because we're not going to manipulate it, right? All we care about that it is a list of things, right? So that should go away. And similarly here, we don't need it to be a list. If you make it a list, you're also telling anybody using it that they can add to it or update it. So if you're doing that as, a general rule, then you can't guarantee a developer isn't going to come along and think, oh, well, I can just add to the list because they made it a list. So it must be intentionally that way, right? So IEnumerable says it's just a collection. So be careful about when you're putting in types, think about how it can be interpreted. Because I have found too many times that people will not necessarily think the same way you do when they come to the code. And if you see something, you'll be like, oh, I can cheat there because they've clearly made it nice and easy for me. Okay, so what I should have right this second is I should still be able to see my menu. Right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 10 more minutes. And I'm going to call it there. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to start controlling the length of the streams during the week to try and give myself more Okay. So we have our menu, right? Nothing's changed. We've got the functionality we had when we started this project or this story. Yay. No negative outcome. Let's go here and actually I think I do this in Gitkraken. Right. Pizza as a service. Okay, so we're on feature 8, and then we're going to stage all this. I'm going to say move menu list to a query. That's all we've done. That's all we've achieved there, right? So one of the other benefits of using, so this isn't something I do too often, but it is one of the benefits of being able to use the view models. The button that we're going to show for publish, right? So we have the menu list and we have this publish button, right? We only want to show this if this menu is valid, right? So what is valid? Valid is according to the rules of the story. And again, this was one we actually talked about and discussed and planned that we would do it this way, right? So runs validation verifying a menu is in a valid state. Changes the menu to be published state and send it to Kafka. A valid menu should have a name, at least one category, and the category should have at least one item. Okay, Rolly, thank you very much for joining. Nice having you here. Thank you for the follow, and hope to see you again. Good night. I don't understand something on the GitHub plan. Is there any plan that any of you know that includes some amount of private storage and packages? I don't know. Sorry, I have a daily challenge of time. I don't know if they give you anything. Private storage, so like NuGet feeds. I haven't even thought of hosting NuGets in GitHub. You can do that? So obviously I'm not the person that's going to answer that question. I don't know if anybody else is in the chat that can do. Okay. So a valid menu should have a name, at least one category, and the category should have at least one item. So one option here is we can actually put the validation on the view model, right? So we need to only show the button if we're allowed to publish it. Yeah, they have a NuGet feed and npm light registry and some other packages. Oh, I did not know. But so far seems to only work for public packages. So I could potentially publish the bot stuff into NuGet packages. Okay, so the what I could do here is put this behavior in here, right? So I could say, okay, public bool menu can be published, right? Be really explicit. And this is categories.any and categories.all c.items.any, right? Huh. I guess I'm not using GitHub effectively enough. So the benefit of that is it's very easy to read. We know where it is. It achieves our goal. But you've also got to figure out if you're setting a pattern there, or if that's something you really want to say, is that these view models will have that understanding of, okay, there's a business rule there, right? Is that a good place to put the business rule? Well, I'm willing to gamble on this one for right this second, because it makes sense. It will read nicely. It achieves everything we need to achieve, right? We can't publish a menu accidentally. We can't publish a menu because we'll prevent based upon this. And the only other option is to basically validate when we hit the button, or have a separate call that validates that menu, and could potentially be slow. So I'm kind of willing to say that is reasonable to because we need to prevent an action on the UI. Right. So if we go in here now, then we say bind. Can I do that? Is it that? Equals menu dot at menu dot menu can be published. Does that work? Let's see. It built. I don't know what it'll do. So let's add a new menu. This is the fail menu. Is that a light mode versus dark mode problem, or is that a... Okay, I'm going to make the screen smaller and turn off dark mode. Oh, that's not doing anything. No, good point. It's probably there, isn't it? No, it doesn't like that, does it? That'd be nice, though. Type class is disabled. Disabled equals that. Sure, I could do it that way, couldn't I? I might as well have done it just that way. It's fine. That's not working any better than the other one. Well, assuming that it's figuring out. I mean, it should. We know that fail menu should not be enabled, and this should be enabled. So let's see what happens. Click. So we can have a method. Sync. Task. Publish. And this is going to be grid ID. All right. Await task.completed task. Yes, and that's this is the sort of stuff I'm talking about, right? It's the what can I do, right? To that won't work. I don't think I can do that. Apparently I can. Okay. So yeah, okay. If I recycle that. Yeah, okay. There's the issue. Okay, so stop running that. Right. Rebuild. Cannot convert. Okay. So you're just going to whine at me now. That's fine. Yeah, we've seen this before. Okay, so let's remove. Do that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so now we should be able to run. I was wondering if that was the issue where it kind of confused Blazor a little bit and got it tripped to one itself. And had to reload. Okay, so if I hit there, I get here. All right. I hit there, I get there. So that does not get respected. That's kind of understandable. So how do I bind? Do I bind this? Is it? Can I do that? No, it won't let me do that. The Stranhorn? Well, it is. It's the same thing as WinForms. It's the same thing. All it does is build them behind, right? That's all it does. Web forms, WPF. But that's not working. Is it returning the right value? That's a good point. Let's put it out. So we do at menu.canbepublished. Menu can be published. Probably should name that something other than menu. That should probably be called can be published, right? So you're saying that is that. Let's actually run it and then it works. I could have also put breakpoint in when I load the menus, but false. Okay, so that's returning false. But I get that logic wrong then. So menus any, categories any, and all categories have items. Categories.any and all categories return true. Why is that not working? So let's do. Well, no, it should be. So it should return true when there are categories and all the categories have items. Right, but they're both returning false. That's the problem. So you are right, yeah. That is a definite problem. The menu list should be not. Disable equals not. Menu can be published. But Let's run that again. Yeah, I just had to fight with the syntax a bit there, didn't I? Come on. But they're both false. Right, so now I can't click that. Those the disabled is working probably, but yeah, and that's kind of the Blazor part I'm missing, right? But they're both returning false, but why are they returning false? So let's put a breakpoint here. And refresh. Menu list. Category 0. Oh, hold on. Just make sure I'm getting the right ones there. All day. Category 0. So it's actually correct. It's just not returning the right menus. So let's open up SQL Management. We know this is 1434 because it's our little database. I know what it is. I don't think that's assessing quite the way I want it to do. I don't think it's enumerating. And what's happening is the enumerations. Yeah. Let's see if that enumerates that properly. Yeah, specify filter. Right, so now it's going to error on entity framework. So navigation properties would probably take the pain out of this. No, you still don't have categories. Why? Oh, hold on. Please tell me I'm not. Oh. Gonna. I thought. Did I? That'd be hilarious. I might not. No, you might be right. Let's back this out and make sure that doesn't, because I don't want to be doing that unnecessarily. My concern would it wouldn't enumerate the sub collections properly. I have had issues with that before, but you are very right. I probably didn't add. I thought I added like category, but maybe I didn't. You are very likely right. Okay, so let's get there. In which case it's a perfect test, right? So categories. No, I don't. Okay, so I'm a fail menu. Pizzas are on the all day. Yeah. Ham and pineapple. Delicious pineapple on a pizza. Triggers, Twitch chat. 19.99. Let's go on the pizzas menu. Okay, so now all day is true. And fail menu is false. There we go. It's working. There we go. Thank you. Good catch. I mean, that's a prime example of I could have gone down a rabbit hole there because I made an assumption. I did go down a rabbit hole there, right? Because I made an assumption. Okay, so let's remove our debug text. Thank you for this. Okay. So it's 10 o'clock. I'm not going to finish this now, sadly. I want to, but I will finish this and I will do a pull request tomorrow. Because what's got to happen now is basically then what we do is send a command to say publish this from within the commands, and then we would do the update the database as published, right? And then we can then get to the point where we originally had it, where we actually publish in the menu, and we can move forward from there. But like I said, I'm going to kind of constrain the streams a little bit for a while to a few hours, and then move on from there. So, okay. Well, I will be back on Thursday this week for certain. If you have any questions about anything that we've done, if you want to discuss anything, remember there's a Discord, and there is pizza. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, can do !pizza. I don't want to put it in the title because people think I'm talking about actual pizza. So, yes. Yeah, I think we can do a lot more, but I think the basics are starting to get there. And once we get the publishing of this out, so once we actually start publishing the menus and stuff, we can talk about, okay, what data belongs where and how is it controlled. Docker is so fun. Try creating a few NuGets for Hermes because they don't fit to be in the Docker. They are library share across. Ah, nice. Docker definitely changes development. For certain, Docker changes development. So okay. Now I can't build Docker because it's one of those. That's just someone in NuGet registry. Well, remember we did figure out how to get the bot talking to local storage. Mr. Anhorn is wise in the way of Docker. So we did get that working. So you can always have it on local storage. So I'm going to commit this just in case anyone wants to check it out, by the way. Enable, disable, publish button based on menu state. So I'm going to push this branch up so it's at least available in the Git. It's for tomorrow, yes. So I will either finish this online or I will share in the Discord. And probably do a pull request, so maybe we can review it next time. Like I said, I won't be streaming next Tuesday, but we'll see. Okay, so we're going to go read Finance Singularity. So I apologize for cutting the stream shorter than I would normally. I could get this done, but I really do need to be more disciplined in that. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully this has been useful. Deflux, if you're still around, thank you very much for the support and the bits, and thank you everyone for hanging out. This has been fun. This will be up on YouTube. This stream will definitely be YouTubed, and yeah. Thank you, Deflux. I really appreciate that. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you on Thursday. I'll be back with mobile stuff. Take care.